So, let's move on to the second topic, which is the psychological theories of crime causation. We're going to talk about the psychodynamic theory and psychosexual stages of human development. So, psychodynamic theory holds that human personality is controlled by unconscious mental processes developed in early childhood. It is composed of three major components such as id, ego, and superego. So let's talk about first the id. The id is a very immature component of personality. It operates only on the pleasure principle with no regard for anything else. So it dictates the needs and desires. For example, Jack is walking down the street and he is very angry. He only has an id, so when he sees an apple pie calling in a window, he takes it for himself. The next one is the superego. The superego is our morals, principles, and ethics. It considers the social standards for social behavior and guides us on what is right and wrong. Example, Jack is walking down the street and he's very angry, so gigutom sad siya. He only has a superego. So, when he sees an apple pie calling in a window, he does nothing. His superego tells him that it is someone's pie and that is not acceptable to trespass on someone's property and take their pie. So, it involves his morality, his moral principle. Nakabalo siya nga dili to iya, so wala niya gikuha kay naitag iya ato. And that apple pie does not belong to him. So, the next one is the ego. The ego is the moderator between ego and the superego. It operates on the reality principle. It makes the decisions that dictate behavior. For example, using the examples earlier, Jack's ego would tell him that he should not take the apple pie from that windowsill, but instead he can buy some pie right up the street at the local grocery store. So, nag-involve na siya sa making decisions about the reality. So, that's the three components of psychodynamic or psychoanalytic psychology. So, let's move on to the next, which is psychosexual stages of human development. Personality development in childhood explains during 5 psychosexual stages, which are the oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital stages. So, first, kaning oral stage, a child attains pleasure through what? By plucking and sucking. This anal, it focuses on the elimination of the bodily waste. The next one is phallic, occurs during the 3rd year when the children focus their attention on their genitals. Sa ilahang, sa something sa ilang part, sa ilang body. And then, the latency begins at the age of 6. Ang lalaki daw begins to have sexual feelings for their mothers stage. So, lastly, the genital stages begins at puberty. So, this is now the beginning of adult sexuality. So, makabalo na siya. Kabalo siya kung say dili buhaton. And kabalo na siya kung unsay buhaton. And then, they represent the fixation of libido or sexual energy in a different area of the body. So, this theory is developed by Sigmund Freud. So, let's move on to our second type of psychological theories of crime causation. Behavioral theory. Behavioral theory, it deals with the study of observable behavior and focuses on stimulus and how people respond to that stimulus. It seeks to explain human behavior by analyzing the antecedents and consequences present in individuals' environment and the learned associations he or she has acquired through previous experiences. So, kaning behavior daw, behavioral theory. From the word itself, your behavior. The study of behavior. kung unsa daw kuno iyang nga experience from the past and how he will apply that certain experience to the present. That's how he will analyze, how he will respond to that certain experience. So that's all about behavioral theory. It's more on observable behavior and from his previous experiences. So how he will apply that to the present in order to be a productive person in society. And it is originally created by John Watson and popularized by Borges Frederick Skinner. So, we're done with the second. The next one is social learning theory. It argued that people are not actually born with the ability to act violently, but rather they learn to be aggressive through their life experiences. So, ma-learn through their life experiences. Asa man pod? Firstly, sa family members. Second, sa environmental experiences. Lastly, sa mass media. Family members. Kung unsa yang nangakita siyang pamilya, like for example, yung papa always gapanigarilyo, so there's a tendency nga mo commit gihapon siya og the same act. Manigarilyuhay gihapon siya pohon sa iyang pagdako. Kay that's what he always sees in their home. And next is environmental experiences. Like for example, sa ilahang lugar, always gapangawat og rambutan ang mga tao didto. So, there's a tendency nga mo commit gapon siya the same act. Kay mao man ang iyahang usually gakakita didto and eventually iyahang ma-learn. Kay normal lang sa ilaha didto ang pagpangawat. And lastly, sa mass media, kung unsa atong nangakita, nangadunggan sa TV, sa radyo, especially nowadays sa social media, no? Daghan, rampant na kaayo ang mga kahitabo nga mga violent acts. So this theory is created by Canadian psychologist Albert S. Bandura. So let's move on to cognitive theory. It is a branch of psychology that deals with the studies of the perception, our cognitive skills, our perception of reality and mental process in order to understand the world we live. So it has 4 stages such as sensorimotor, pre-operational, concrete operational, and formal operations. So, diri na din mag-involve ang theoretical, hypothetical, and counterfactual thinking. How you are logical and how broad your critical thinking skills are in order to understand the world we live. Okay? That's the cognitive theory created by Jean William Fritz Piaget, a Swiss psychologist. So let's move on to moral development theory. So it suggests that people who are more likely to avoid punishment or who have outlooks mainly characterized by self-interest are more likely to commit crimes than those who view the law as something. So it suggests that moral logic is primarily focused seeking and maintaining justice. So this kind of moral development has six stages: infancy, obedience and punishment, self-interest, conformity and interpersonal accord, authority and social order, social contract, universal principles. So it was developed by Lawrence A. Kohlberg. Then he suggested that people travel through stages of moral development and that it is possible that serious offenders have a moral orientation that differs from law-abiding citizens. And it is focused seeking and maintaining justice. So this is the goal of moral development theory by Lawrence A. Kohlberg. So let's move on to intergenerational transmission theory. So it refers to the socialization and social learning that helps to explain the ways in children growing up in a violent family learn violent rules and subsequently may play out the roles of victim or victimized in their adult families as adults. Kung unsa da kuno tong nadak-an sa bata, maybe mao pud iyahang ma-experience in nagdako. Nagdako siya sa violent nga family, then there's a tendency nga magdako pud siya sa violent family. And this theory is created by Anne Duffy and Julian Momirov. So let's move on to our next topic, alternative theory. It focuses on assertive where female offenders tend to cohabit with or get married to male offenders. It explains two main classes concerning this theory, the social homogamy and phenotypic assortment. So, in this alternative theory, beats the famous saying that says opposite charges attract. So, kanida ko nung social homogamy, it involves where convicted people tend to choose each other as mates because of physical and social proximities. And then the next one is phenotypic assortment, where people examine each other's personality and choose partners who are similar to themselves. So this theory is created by Robert K. Kroeger. Let's move on to differential association reinforcement theory. It is a combination of social learning theory. Remember the social learning theory nga ma-learn nimo ang mga aggressive acts through their life's experiences. And Sutherland's theory, which explains that criminal behavior is learned by the reinforcement we receive after committing deviant behavior. So, ang criminal behavior daw kuno learned. So, unsa man, after we receive committing deviant behavior, after a certain person receive after committing deviant behavior. So, for example, if the child gets 0 in his quiz and the mother will still give reward to the child, then the child would think that it's alright not to study and would only cheat out of laziness. This is created by Ernest W. Borges and Ronald Akers. So the next one, Eysenck's conditioning theory. In this theory, it claims that all human personalities may be seen in 3 dimensions, such as psychoticism, extroversion, and neuroticism. This also argues that individuals inherit a type of nervous system that affects their ability to learn and adapt to the environment. So, kanida ko nung Eysenck's conditioning theory, all human personalities makita nimo siya sa psychoticism. So, maning psychoticism? Like sa imuhang mga personalities, mong behaviors, like that. Are you impulsive? Are you aggressive? Are you egocentric? It focuses on your psycho. Extraversion means how you interact with other people. Extraversion. Neuroticism involves your neurotic having a low self-esteem, like that, how you viewed yourself. So this type of theory created by Hans J. Eysenck. So let's move on to integrated theory. The concept of this theory is that the genes and environment are factors for some individuals to form the kind of personality that is likely to commit crimes. Genes. Sa inyuhang genetic and environment. Like, nana sa inyuhang pamilya nga mag-commit na gid mo og crimes. Normal na sa inyo, nana sa inyuhang sa inyong dugo. Hereditary na sa inyo ang mag-commit sa crime. Like imong lolo, lola, papa, mama, din mga igsoon. All are exposed to criminal behavior. That's the genes. One of the factor that why people commit crimes. Also, the environment, kung unsa iyang naa sa iyang palibot. Ma-adapt din niya, and then, if that people also commit crimes, then no exception for you. You are likely to commit crimes. Developed by James Wilson and Richard Julius Bernstein. Let's move on to maternal deprivation and attachment theory. It suggests that continual disruption of the attachment between infant and primary caregiver could result in long-term cognitive, social, and emotional difficulties for that infant. Deprivation of maternal. Si Edward John Bowlby expressed the notion that a child needs warmth and affection from his mother or a mother substitute kay dira dayon magsugod ang unsaman ang mga involvement sa hatred, like that emotional bond between the infant and his mother. So Edward John M. Bowlby developed this maternal deprivation and attachment theory between the infant and the mother. So, we're done with the second topic, which is psychological theories of crime causation.